Hey everybody, Ryan here. Alright, I'm going to start a new series here on my channel. It is the typing top 10s. This is going to be the normal version I'm going to do first, because they are the, without pun intended, the most normal of the bunch. But they also are the most unique as well, because normal types are able to learn a lot more of a variant of moves than most of the other typings. There are exceptions, of course, but you look at most of these, this is an image of all the ones up through, I believe that's Gen 6? It's up through? Maybe Gen 5, actually. Yeah, I should think that's only through Gen 5. But still, there's a lot more than that, but there's some simple rules for how I'm going to do this. My typing top 10s, these are going to be based off of the Pokemon I prefer. The ones that, well, not that I prefer, the Pokemon that I like the most. They aren't necessarily the best Pokemon, they're just the ones I like. Sometimes just to have in my collection around, sitting in my boxes in my games. I don't necessarily use them, but they're ones that I enjoy. They look good, they're fun, or just because sometimes they were fun from the anime, they may not be as good in the actual games, but they're just fun to have, and some of them are very powerful Pokemon. Others are just fun to look at, I never really used often. So these are my personal top 10s, and I am not using legendaries or mythicals in this at all. And I'm also stipulating also for this top 10, or for all the top 10s I'm doing here, about the different types, is the type that I'm using in this event, the normal one, has to be the main typing. That means if normal is a secondary type on a Pokemon, like let's use an example, Obstagoon, secondary type is normal. I probably would have had that in my top 10, but it's not a normal type by its main typing. So I'm not using anything that is a secondary typing. So I won't use Obstagoon in this, but you may see it down the line in another typing. It's main typing. So as of right now, you're going to lose a few of these in here. Like, I can see Regigigas in the picture. You're not going to see that in the top 10 here, because I'm not using legendaries or mythicals. I'll do a separate video for them. Anyways, let's get going before this video gets too long. Alright, so this is how the offensive and defensive for normal looks. And there's not much of a difference from Gen 1 onwards. Gen 1, offensively, its attack was halved against Rock type. It had no effect on Ghost, and Ghost had no effect on it. Except in Gen 1, of course, the Ghost type attack, Nightshade would affect the normal types for some reason, but they weren't perfect with how they coded that game, so it wasn't exact science back then. So, ever since, I believe it has not affected it. So, and the only defensive weakness it has is against fighting type. So it's a pretty ineffective and safe bet to get a normal type in your team, honestly. Because they can learn a larger variant of TM moves, so it doesn't hurt. Then Gen 2 onwards, the only change in their offensive defensive weaknesses and strengths is they added Steel type to the offensive half of the effect of the attack. That is the only difference. Literally, that is the only change in its entire existence. Alright, on to my number 10. And the number 10 is Porygon. Porygon was always one of my favorites. I always loved Porygon. I mean, you look down over here in the bottom left corner, you can see its original sprite from the games. It looks more like a duck than a digitally created Pokemon. But I always liked it. It was probably because it was such a pain to get this Pokemon in Gen 1. I've never truly used it or its evolutions in battles, truth be told. I know Porygon Z can be effective for some people's teams, and that's fine. I've just never used it, I just liked having it. Just because it looks awesome. It is probably one of the few Pokemon that caused an episode of the anime to be blacked out from the rest of the world because of its effects over in Japan. Supposedly caused numerous seizures. It wasn't Porygon itself, they were in like a digital world that had a lot of flashing lights, and if you're epileptic, you would know that that could cause seizures in you. So, unfortunately, quite a few kids had some seizure reactions to that, and so they banned it in the US. Unfortunately, you can watch, I don't think they ever dubbed it either, but I believe you can still find the episode online. It's just going to be in Japanese and maybe subtitled. So, you might be able to catch it that way if you feel you want to look at it. I suggest if you are epileptic, do not watch it. But that is your personal opinion, or not opinion, your personal choice. If you want to risk that, that is up to you. I would not suggest it. I'll say that now. But, anyways, I always liked this one. It was, only way you could get it in Gen 1 was through the Game Corner, where I believe it was in red version, you had to pay like 6,000 of the tokens, I think it was, or maybe it was 6,500. Where in blue version, it was like 9,999 of the tokens. It was like, come on, why is it so much more expensive in blue? Because I, of course, started with blue version. Made a mistake there, evidently, if I want Porygon. Anyways, I've always liked the look of the thing. It looks awesome. It has a couple evolutions. In Gen 2, they added Porygon 2, which you can see it in a shiny version there. And actually, I forgot to mention, I love Porygon's shiny version. That is a picture from my Pokemon Go. I love that thing. I still am trying to catch it in the Let's Go games. I've not been able to get it not wild yet. I want to. But you can get Porygon 2 by trading Porygon holding an upgrade. And Porygon Z was added in Gen 4. One of two Pokemon on this list that have its evolutions in 2 different generations. But you can get that by trading Porygon 2 with a dubious disc to get Porygon Z. Alright, its stats are pretty weak, and that's probably why anybody who's competitive probably doesn't use Porygon. I believe Porygon Z is much better in the certain stats, not all. And because it was Gen 1, Gen 1 only had 5 stat categories instead of the 6 you see listed here. It had Special, which is a combination of attack and special defense. So its special was 75. Excuse me. On to number 9, Fearow. Alright, Fearow was always a hard one to get for me because, like I said, I started on blue version. It is an original Gen 1, as you can see, Dex number 22. If it's 151 or lower, it's from Gen 1. As I'm sure most of you know, but just for those who may not. But Fearow was a hard one to get because I started off with blue version, and I used to play on the old brick Game Boy. Yet, if you know what it is, you know. I'll just do a video, see if I can get that thing working again. I think it works, I just need to put batteries in it. But, anyways, Fearow was hard to get because it was a red exclusive one. And I did not know for the longest time that you could get a Spearow. Where was that? I want to say that was in Pewter City? I could be wrong. I can't remember. But I found out later on in my life that you could get a Spearow by talking to someone, and they give you one with mail attached to it that you can take to someone else, or you can just keep the Spearow. If I had known that, I would have done that. And I believe you can trade for it as well in the game. I just never did it. So, Fearow was a hard one to get to me. I always liked the look of the thing, and it was a pretty effective Pokemon, honestly. Because it was a normal flying type. So it was effective in other ways. But anyways, it's one of those hard ones to tell the shiny difference if you're not paying attention. So, keep an eye out for that one. Its first stage is Spearow, which it evolves into Fearow at level 20. I always liked Spearow better than Pidgey personally, but I just never got to use it very often because I didn't get red version until like a year after they came out because I didn't even have a second Game Boy until then. Because those things were not cheap back in the day. They may be cheaper now, but they were not cheaper then. Alright, its stats, they're not the greatest, they're not the worst. Definitely not the best for a fully evolved Pokemon, but its speed is pretty good, its attack is decent. HP is terrible, defense is terrible. Its special attack and special defense, not so great. Alright, number 8, Toucannon. I always liked this one. A lot of people give this one crud, because they say it just looks like, the cereal character. And for a reason, it's based off of the same type of bird. But I like it. I don't know the beak. I like the beak personally. I like the way it looks. I like the way it battles, because I always use this thing in the Alola games. Always. Every single time playthrough I've done, I've had a Toucannon. Because it's a really good flying type, and evidently a normal type is his first typing, so there you go. Its dex number is 733, so that tells you it's not from Galar, and it has not been released in Galar either. It evolves from Trumbeak at level 28. It goes from Pikipek, which is the original form you'll find. It goes from that to Trumbeak at level 14. Its stats aren't too bad. Well, I mean, most of its stats are meh, but its attack is fairly strong. Its HP is okay. Defense, special attack, and special defense, okay. Its speed is not very good. That's where it kills you. Because its defense isn't great, but that attack, if it gets that attack going, it is effective. That's my personal opinion. Number 7, Deerling / Sawsbuck. I use both because they're equal to me. I mean, I never used either of them in battle, truth be told. I just like how the fact that they did this in the black and white games, that you had to come back 4 times a year to catch all forms of this thing. And I did it, and it was annoying, because back then I didn't realize you could just change the time on your DS. That was just dumb on my part. I should have done more research, but I didn't look on the internet back then very often. Anyways, it has 4 forms: the spring form, the summer form, the autumn, and the winter. Pokemon Go, if you played it, it's only released the winter and the spring. So, summer is next. Looking forward to that in a couple months, probably. And then autumn in about 6 months, probably. Then we'll have all 4 forms. Alright, here's Sawsbuck, its evolved form. As you can see, the same 4 forms: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. It evolves from Deerling at level 34 into this. Like I said, I never use in battle. I just like the mechanic of different versions for different times of the year, which can be annoying for a lot of people. I understand that. I just like the idea. The execution, not so great, but I like the idea. It was good. Good try. Good try. Deerling is not very effective Pokemon. It is fast. I'll give it that. It is fast, but other than that, its stats are not so good. And then Sawsbuck, it's not the greatest stat Pokemon, but its speed is decently good, and its attack is decently good. And its HP is okay. So, it's not a very effective Pokemon, but I just like the different looks to it, which, by the way, after, I think, Gen 5 it was, after that, you only get the spring form. But if you send over the other ones, they keep its look in the Pokemon boxes and also in home or, why am I drawing a blank on it? Or the bank. Or Pokemon Bank. Either way, if you send them over in these forms, they will stay that way. They will not go back to spring. You can only catch the spring version after Black and White. And Black and White 2. Alright, on to number 6, Pidgeot. I know I said Spearow and Fearow I liked a bit better than this one, but like I said, because I played the blue version growing up, I've always used Pidgeot on every single team I ever had. I've always had Pidgeot in quite a few of the games. Not all of them, there were some I didn't, like Alola and of course Galar, because it's not even in Galar yet, if it ever will be. But I always use Pidgeot. I know it's not the best statistical flying type by any stretch of imagination, but I always liked it. I always used it because it was my flying, or my HM Fly Pokemon. I always used it for that. His national dex number is 18. It does have a Mega Evolution, as you can see there on the left. I honestly have never used a Mega Evolution for that. I mean, there were other Mega Evolutions I'd used before that one, to be honest with you. I never had a hard time beating it from other people that had a Mega Evolved version of it. Like I said, it's not the best, but I always used it on my team, and I never had problems with it, really. But I never did any of the competitive battling either, so that could be why. As you can see, it has 2 evolutions, its initial stages. Pidgey, which is where you'll normally find it in any of the games mostly. Level 18, it evolves into Pidgeotto, which you see on the right. And that evolves into Pidgeot at 36. As you can see, the original sprite for Pidgey there above the artwork of Pidgey. And I like the eye difference. It looks like a real bird's eye on the top, where it switches to like a different version. Where Pidgeotto is, it looks more like a chicken than a bird at that point. I mean, I know chicken are birds, but it doesn't look like it does now. It's a lot smaller and more aerodynamic now, where there it looks like it have a hard time flying. But that's the problem with the original sprites, is they didn't have the artwork to go off of, but honestly, that sprite and the artwork aren't that far off for Pidgeotto. Alright, Pidgeot has some different stats. Gen 1 through 5 in the top left corner, you can see its stats were a bit lower. It wasn't very good at much of anything other than was fast. Gen 6, they increased that speed by 10 points, and that's where its stats sit from Gen 6 till the current day. It has not changed from that. Then you have Mega Pidgeot, which has an amazingly good special attack and an amazingly good speed. In which case they increased speed by 20, but they increased that special attack by 65 points. Everything else is, well, no, special defense they have by 10, and defense by 5. But HP and attack are the same. So, Mega Pidgeot actually is more effective. Alright, number 5, Tauros. Tauros I always liked. I mean, this is the original artwork. I didn't put up its original sprite. I don't know why I skipped the original sprite for this. But as you can see, the shiny version. I love the shiny version. I don't know why. There's something about it. The green hair. I kind of like it. But Tauros was always a fun one. It was a pain to catch in Gen 1. It was a Safari Zone only Pokemon, unless you used the glitch to get it to show up off the shore of Cinnabar Island, but unless you were really desperate because it was a pain in the butt, that was the only time you did that. But I always liked this thing. I never used it, but everybody says it's an amazingly powerful Pokemon Gen 1. I believe him. I mean, look at his stats are pretty dang good. How this thing never got an evolution, I don't know. This thing should have an evolution, or at least a baby type. And give it something. This thing's always been a favorite for a lot of people. So, I mean, his speed is high, its attack is high, his defense is pretty dang good. Special attack is awful though. 40? Ugh. I know in Gen 1 this thing could learn a lot of moves, and it was extremely effective in battling, especially against the Elite Four. It was very effective, so if you have it, use it. Number 4, Happiny. National Dex number 440. I don't know why I chose this one, honestly. I do. It's a very cute baby Pokemon, but I always liked it from the anime, honestly. The anime, the one that Brock had, was amazingly powerful. Way better than anything you'll get in the game. In the games, it's extremely weak. It is a baby form, after all. But I think it's hilarious that that's not an egg that it's holding. It's just an oval rock. I don't know why I find that funny, but I do. And here's its evolutions. Like I said, in the Porygon one, it's one of 2. This is the second one that has 2 different generations for its evolutions. Gen 1, you only got Chansey, which was a pain to catch. I think it showed up 1% of the time in the Safari Zone. Ugh. Extremely annoying to find and catch because it ran away a lot. And then you would have to spend hours trying to find the dang thing again. If you're lucky to get it right away, congratulations. Happiny evolves into Chansey while holding an Oval Stone and being traded or leveled up. I think it was leveled up. It evolves with high friendship from Chansey to Blissey, in which case Blissey is from Gen 2 and Happiny is from Gen 4. So, there you go. Like all of its evolutions, Happiny has amazingly high HP, and it only gets better from there for the other 2. These things are all tanks. They have no attack, no defense really, and that doesn't get better as it evolves. Its speed is not the greatest. Its special defense gets higher. Its special attack does not get much higher, if higher at all. So, it's not an attacker, but these things are tanks. A lot of people in Gen 1 almost always had a Chansey on their team. If you played Pokemon Go, everybody and their mother had Blissey for the longest time. Every gym had a Blissey in it. It was ridiculous. So, you know they're strong in that they can take some punishment. And that's why a lot of people got him, especially when you got to Elite 4 in Gen 1. It was very effective to put out Chansey, let it take some hits while you heal up the rest of your team if you needed to. It was effective for that. Alright, on to number 3, Bouffalant. A lot of people won't agree with Bouffalant being this high. I understand. Just for me, I've always liked Bison and Buffalo, and that's what this thing is based off of. And having that really cool fro hairdo in the front, I like it. I just like it. I don't know why. I used it once, I think, in black and white. Wait, was this from black and white? Yeah, I think this is from black and white version. And I didn't use it again after that. Like, I know it just came out in... Or it didn't just come out, but it came out in the recent DLC for the Galar region, so... It and, ironically, Tauros, the other kind of bull slash bison slash buffalo mixed Pokemon. So, it was fun to see them in the same area. It would have been fun if they had them butting heads at one point. That would have been kind of cool to see. I bet you might see that in the new Pokemon Snap game that's coming out. I bet. Alright, anyways. Bouffalant I always liked just because of how it looked. I never really used it often. I mean, it's not a bad Pokemon. It has pretty good attack. Its defense, HP, and special defense are pretty good. Its special attack is awful. Its speed is not so good. You'd think the speed would be better for this Pokemon, but it is based off of Bison and Buffalo, who can be kind of cumbersome when they run. I mean, they can get up to speed, but it takes them a moment to get up to speed. Unless you're a not very smart tourist and you decide to go up and touch their young, and go look at videos of that, how that ends on YouTube, because it does not end well most of the time. Don't be dumb, don't touch them. They are not as nice as they may appear, and they are not as slow as they may appear. At first they may be, but you cannot outrun them once they get to speed. It is not very easy. Anyways, on to number 2, Snorlax. I always loved Snorlax. This thing was always hilarious. It blocked 2 routes in Gen 1 and a few of the other games, and I don't know why. This thing was annoying but awesome at the same time. And like Chansey, it's a tank. But like Tauros, it was a tank that could attack. This thing could learn dang near every TM there was in Gen 1. I don't know if that's still true. I haven't used it really much since then, but I do now in Galar, actually. I have a shiny Munchlax that hatched and got it up to a Snorlax. In which case, it's not the easiest one to determine the difference in the shiny and non-shiny, but it's just a little bit more blue compared to green, where in the original game, this is the original sprite on the top left. It was more like a black and white coloring, where they changed to more of like a green after the fact. So, that's the difference, but it also has Mega Evolutions, which you can see the difference between the shiny here in the bottom left and the non-shiny just next to it in the Gigantamax. Huge difference, right? Not. It can be a pain to determine the difference if you're not paying attention. And like I said, it has a baby form from Gen 2, or was that Gen 4? I can't remember which gen that came out now. But anyways, I would have chose Munchlax, but Snorlax has a special place from Gen 1 for me, and I know for a lot of people. So, it evolves from Munchlax with high friendship, and look at the stats for this thing. The attack and the special defense, amazingly good. The HP, ridiculously high. This thing can take punishment. It is slow as heck, but it also can heal itself. I mean, it definitely is effective in many different ways. And it can put our Pokemon to sleep using the Yawn move. So, you can put them to sleep, or you can use Yawn, take the hit for a turn, they go to sleep, you put yourself to sleep to heal, and boom, you're back in the game. But anyways, this thing was amazingly good. I always loved it. I loved having, you had to find the Pokemon flute, you had to wake it up, battle it, catch it, and after that, it was a beast. This thing was amazingly good in Gen 1, and still is pretty dang good, and used all the time in games like Pokemon Go. You see a Snorlax in like every gym. You see a Snorlax, a Slowking, and yeah, and a Blissey in like every gym. So that's how it goes. But that's a special one too. Alright, on for my number 1. Not everyone's going to agree with this. A lot of people probably would put Snorlax first, but for me, Kangaskhan. I freaking love this Pokemon. I don't know why. I've always enjoyed it. You can see its original sprite on the right. It was a pain to catch. It was another Safari Zone Pokemon from Gen 1. How this thing has not gone to evolution or a baby form, I don't understand. It has a baby in its pouch. Its Mega Evolution has the baby outside the pouch. How has this not gotten a baby version or a male variant at least? Because they are 100% female. You can't find a male anywhere. That's the original artwork on the left. So, I mean, they did pretty close with the artwork and the original sprite. So, I mean, it's also one of those ones, if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss the difference in the shiny. It's not that different. It's enough of a difference, I think you might go, wait, that looks a little different. But, still. So there's the Mega Evolution right there. Kangaskhan itself does not change, other than the baby hops out of the pouch. That is the Mega Evolution difference. It's creative, but not at the same time. So, Kangaskhan's stats are up there on the right. In Gen 1, it was a tank. I mean, that thing could take some punishment. It had it had pretty good HP, okay defense. Attack was strong, and its speed was strong. Its special was a 40 back then, so its special was not the greatest, but they've upped the special defense since they added this separation between special attack and special defense. But its special attack stayed at 40. It could learn a lot of moves. You basically taught it a bunch of the punching moves, and it could learn all sorts of them. And with it being a normal type in Gen 1, it only had the weakness of fighting. In the Elite Four, you only had to worry about Bruno against your team if you had Kangaskhan, Tauros, Snorlax on your team, and a Chansey. In which case, you throw in Alakazam, boom, you won. You don't even need another. You just need those 5. These things were all tanks back then. I mean, they've weakened them since, because they were so strong in Gen 1. But Gen 1 was not known for having a way to make things more of an equal battle. It was basically, if you had tanks like that, you were unbeatable. It just was how it was back then. That's why they've made it more even. They've downgraded a lot of the stronger Pokemon from that one. Like Alakazam, like a Kangaskhan, like a Chansey, like a... Well, I guess they had to downgrade Chansey much rather than lower its HP a little bit. And the rest of its stats are awful. But you can also see the Mega Kangaskhan numbers there. Every stat's at least 100 other than special attack. I mean, special attack they raised 20. Attack they raised 30 points. HP is the same. Special defense up 20 points and speed up 10. So it was a pretty rounded out Pokemon when it got to the Mega form for sure. But I still want to know why Combi gets a male and female form, but why doesn't Kangaskhan? Or give it an evolution? I mean, if it's 100% female, how do they create babies? Let's be honest here. And how come we don't have a baby form that you can hatch and then grow into a Kangaskhan? I mean, come on, give us something here. I mean, give it some love. It needs some more attention. Come on, Pokemon Company, you can do this. Give it some love come the next generation, or next DLC if you have one. Give it a male form. Make it so that it makes sense, because it doesn't make sense now. Anyways, moving on. Alright, that's it for my normal type top 10. Hopefully you enjoy. If you do, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to be notified when my next video drops, because I'm going to be going in reverse order from this list here. I did normal type first, next one is going to be poison, which I do not use often, if ever at all. So the top 10 is going to be all over the place and mostly just based on how I like the look of the Pokemon, honestly, because I'm not basing this off stats, truthfully. But Poison type in Gen 1, there weren't many, so... And that's where a lot of my experiences I remember come from, because I've started in Gen 1, went all the way through. I've played every single game, don't get me wrong. But Gen 1 is where I base a lot of my likes for a lot of these types, other than Steel and Dark and Fairy and Ice. Well, Ice was kind of a thing back in Gen 1, but not really. So, anyways. So you see where the next videos are going to go. So hopefully you enjoy. Like I said, hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Make sure to like, comment, and share. Let me know what your top 10 are. Because this is just my opinion. This is not based off stats or anything like that. So let me know what your top 10 is. Just all I ask is be nice. I know it's easy to attack people for this sort of stuff. And that's fine. Be that way if you want to. But I will remove the comment if you are rude. Just be nice. If you don't agree, say I don't agree. Say my top 10. Say your top 10. That's fine. Go for it. I want to hear it. I want to know what your top 10 are, because I enjoy these sort of things. Alright. I will see you all next video, everybody. Have a good one. Bye, everybody.